Jason Momoa talks to fish. Decepticons inadvertently give away their intentions by saying that they are, in fact, Decepticons. Mary Poppins is still narcissistic, and Netflix gets meta on today's episode of The Real Review. So stay tuned. Welcome to The Real Review, sponsored by Parametric and Lazy Ape Studios, where you get some of the latest happenings, real thoughts, and perspectives in the world of film and television. Everybody, with me, I have Joel.
Drum roll. I don't know.
Joel.
You're building up to it so much. I'm like, this better be a great
Everybody,
one.
I have Joel. Would choose to fight his therapist, Cunningham.
Oh, I like it. It's a little bit of a Black Mirror topic there.
True story.
Did you, we talked a little bit about this. Did you get to that pathway?
Yes. That was actually, in fact, when I started laughing, what is happening right now? But it was so enjoyable.
It was pretty ridiculous, that part of it.
It was very enjoyable, though.
It was enjoyable. I thought that was going in a very different direction.
Right.
I'm not going to lie. I thought that was going more of in a love-related direction, I will put it that way. PG podcast here.
Sure.
But I was very happily surprised it went in that direction. I was like, what the
It made
heck?
it fun. It made it fun.
So I am here with Matt, whose 9s look like 8s. Hey. I don't know if that makes sense.
What are you talking about?
Because it's 2019 and everybody is writing 2018.
Oh, I did that all day. I've been writing reports and stuff that I need to have dates on it, and I keep putting 18. It's the worst.
Exactly.
I did that in school growing up, and I still do it now.
That might have been more of an assumption on my part, but also a bit of pushing what is happening with me on you.
Oh, yeah.
So
okay.
Yeah.
It's okay. I can handle it. It is okay. Cool. Well, everybody, welcome. Welcome to the show. This is The Real Review. And just to kind of give you a breakdown, a synopsis of what it is that we do, it is basically Joel and I kind of stand on two opposite sides of a line.
Yeah, we're in the same circle, but we're on different sides of the circle.
Right.
Yeah.
So I'm a little bit more when I go, my approach to film is, is this going to be fun? Is it going to emotionally move me? I can overlook some failures potentially. I'm not too nitpicky on a lot of things, but I'm fairly optimistic a lot of times about my film reviews. Where you're on the other side of that circle, where you're talking about where you might be a little bit more. You might be more nitpicky. You might be more negative, critical, at all the technical elements and aspects of it. You start talking about all this film terminology that I ain't even never heard of before. And
you're not that stupid.
But
I ain't never heard of what a camera. What's a film camera do?
No, but joking aside, we do see eye to eye on a fair amount of things.
Do.
We're not that opposite. So, but we do have some differences of opinion.
Yeah. In this world of contention, it's nice that two people can come together.
Most times what I've found, exactly. And most time what I've found is that I tend to always skew my grades a little higher than yours, just in general, no matter what film. Even if we didn't like the movie, I'll still grade it higher. So I don't know why.
Yeah. Unless you really are upset at it for some reason.
Yes.
And then you're just
if there's one thing that makes me really upset, then I will automatically grade it super low. Batman versus Superman. No.
Well, yeah. That deserved it.
Yeah.
So.
I was so upset by that. Anyways, thanks for tuning in. That's kind of what we do here. Joel, how can they get connected with us?
Well, Matt, there is a bunch of different ways to get connected to the podcast. Keep burping. Wow.
Okay.
The best way to get connected, I'm not doing it into the mic, thank you, right?
Thank you.
The best way probably for us is through our Facebook, which is facebook.com/Real Review. There's tons of good stuff up there. We're always posting new content. They just announced the new Stranger Things season. We have three awesome sauce coming out July 4th.
July 4th. Also,
what's that?
Sorry, The Punisher just got
they just turned the Punisher.
January 19th?
January, I think, 19th, 18th, something. Which I'm sure they'll be announcing sadly after that it's over.
Canceled.
It's canceled. Yeah, moving into the new platform there. So anyway, connect with us on Facebook. We also have our website, which is it was facebook.com/Real Review Media.
Yeah.
Real Review. And then we have our website, which is realreviewmedia.com. We also have our Instagram, and our Twitter, which are both at Real Review Media. And then additionally, we have our YouTubes. It's always a good place to go if you want to find out, or I should say watch our podcast versus listening. I would not suggest doing that if you're in a car.
Right.
Or operating any type of machinery.
Yes. Unless you have 4 sets of eyes.
Yes, I would stick with the podcast.
Yes.
And we love that. We love our podcast listeners as well. So, but you can check that out on youtube.com/The Real Review.
Yeah.
So, and then last but not least, and then we'll get into the films. We've got a ton to talk about, so I should just quick hurry up with what I'm doing here.
This is a giant episode.
It
guys.
is, yeah. realreviewmedia@gmail.com. We'd love to hear your thoughts and perspectives. Tell us about the endings that you got on Black Mirror Bandersnatch.
Yes.
Which we're going to talk about.
That's a perfect segue. Let's talk about that. We have like 3 films that I want to talk about here up front. And reviewing them, you can't really review, especially this first one. You can't really review it because it is so open-ended in a lot of different ways, a lot of different endings, whatever.
Right.
Let's talk about that. Netflix released an interactive movie called Black Mirror, Bandersnatch, right?
Bandersnatch. Yeah.
Bandersnatch.
I keep calling it Bandersnatch.
Bandersnatch.
Sounds like something from Futurama.
Yeah. So Bandersnatch. And I've never done anything like this, and this is totally experimental, and leave it to Black Mirror to be the ones to take it on. I think as far as interactive like film goes, I think this is going to be open a lot of doors for stuff down the road.
I agree. I've always been a big fan of this type of thing.
Right.
I mean, I've often joked about the idea of if I was ever to make like a really crazy movie, filming like multiple endings and then just releasing the film but not telling people about the multiple endings. And this is kind of like that.
So they have in real. I remember high school, junior high. So they have books. Where it's like follow your own path
Choose
or whatever.
Your own adventure.
And it's this movie is so incredibly meta in referencing itself and the streaming platform that it's on. That it basically the premise comes from a book within the movie where you can kind of choose your own pathway, and that's what you do. You make decisions in this movie for this guy as he goes about his day-to-day and his different choices and different things that he does. And it's really, really interesting depending on which pathway you took. Every time it ended for me, it always ended kind of dark.
There's not a lot of positive, but it's Black Mirror.
It's Black Mirror, so it fits in the context of the Black Mirror universe. But if you guys do it and get a chance to do the Netflix pathway, that's hilarious. I was laughing out loud at what was happening.
Yeah, the Netflix and the fight one were both the ones I think
that's
gosh,
what you
this
use.
Is crazy.
Yeah, I think that's part of that pathway. It's crazy. But yeah, it's super fun. I can't really rate the movie though, so I would just encourage you to try it because I really think this is going to be a thing. This is going to be a thing in the future.
Yeah, it's more of it's not even a video game. It's more of like an experience that you take in, and you can kind of rate, I guess, the experience that you got from it, which I thought was great. But yeah, it's not. At this point, I wouldn't necessarily rate it the same as I would a movie.
Right,
Because it's choose your own adventure. You can, whatever movie you want to have is, not whatever, but you have options.
But it was an interesting experience. I might encourage you. If you're familiar with Black Mirror and kind of the dark avenues that explores and you like that, try it out, test it out. Definitely not for kids.
Definitely not for kids,
So it's not like a family, hey, let's do this interactive movie thing. No, don't do that with your family, guys.
Let's gather around the computer and watch this murdering. And,
But yeah, check that out. So anything else you want to say on that real quick?
No.
Okay, let's hop on to the next one because you got a chance to see this. And this is Holmes and Watson. Give us a quick breakdown.
It sucked. Moving on.
Really?
Well, I will say this. I will add to it. I saw this movie. I didn't have to pay to see this movie. I saw it for free, and it still cost me too much.
Oh my gosh!
More of an emotional drain, I suppose. But it's getting really bad reviews right now. It's like at 29% for audience and 9% for critics, and I think that's still too high.
Right.
I didn't chuckle. I didn't laugh. It wasn't interesting. It wasn't good acting. There was nothing about it that was reading.
See, that's funny. I thought the same thing in the trailer. Just watching the trailer, I was like,
I felt like if it was Will Ferrell and what's his name?
Not John C. Reilly?
John C. Reilly at their best, then there might at least be some funny humor in there.
But it was like two old friends just hanging out. Hey, let's make a movie real quick.
Yeah, like every single joke was like, okay, you saw it coming from like 10 miles away. It was just I don't even want to keep talking about it.
That's unfortunate.
I don't even want to give it a rating because it was that bad.
Give me a rating. I want a rating.
I want to 0.5 it.
It's an F. Oh, so it's an F, but it's like a really bad F.
Yeah, I mean, I will say this. I wasn't like offended or angry by it, but there's literally no reason. There's no redemptive aspect to this movie. They make all these pandering jokes about current culture with like selfies and other things. Even they have an attack against, they do like a joke against the president. And, and it's just like they're trying to be like modern with it, but it's like set in an old time period. But it's really stupid. So all around.
I had no interest, and it got the worst grade of the year so far from you.
Yes, for sure.
0.5 out of 100%.
Well, it's technically 2019 now, I guess. Yes. So it's the it came out in 2018.
Yeah, but we're talking about 2018 still, because we're still doing that stuff. Plus, we got a bunch of Oscar nominations.
I'm going to say this. I'm going to move this into 2019 because we're going to be doing our best and worst list here pretty soon, which I think is going to be our 100 episode.
Yeah, and we literally can't see as many movies as they put out, especially this December. A ton of stuff came out, and it's just impossible to keep up.
Yeah.
So we're going to put out best and worst out this maybe next week. We'll see.
I think so. Yeah.
And then another thing I want to talk about real quick, I won't do a full review just because Joel hadn't seen it yet, but I want to talk about Bird Box. This is another Netflix original movie. This is one of the first times that Netflix actually tweeted out that this is one of the most highly watched movies that Netflix has ever released. They don't do metrics. They don't send out metrics, Netflix, and what their subscriber are watching.
Yeah.
And so that was kind of a first thing. So it broke a record for them. A lot of people are talking about it. There are some really funny memes on the internet about this movie. Yeah. But I thought the movie was okay. I didn't think it was great. I thought it was okay. It wasn't even really good for that matter. Just a quick thing. I thought it was maybe if The Happening by M. Night Shyamalan may have been better.
Yeah.
I think I felt like that, but I also felt like I don't know. It felt weird to me because it reminded me of A Quiet Place, except for, don't make noise. You can't see this time. That's kind of what I was feeling. And maybe I thought about this, but the main thing to me is I couldn't connect to Sandra Bullock. I hated her character for such a long time. And for me, the big thing is being able to connect with characters. I could not connect with her. So.
No, why would you say that?
Anyways, that's it. That's my real quick review. Maybe we'll talk about it again
That was
later.
The Happening joke.
Yeah.
No, you just want to kill me.
Well, also,
why would you say that?
There's a scene in The Happening where they drive up into this army guy and they're like, all these people are dead back there, and he looks up and he goes, cheese and rice. It's like,
cheese
what?
and rice.
Cheese and cracker. I can't remember what he said. Something like that.
M. Night does that. Every once in a while, his movies just have the dumbest scene.
Yeah.
There's a scene in Lady in the Water. There's a scene in, is it called Devil or whatever?
Devil,
it's the one when they're strapped in the elevator and this guy has I don't know if it's actually a thing, but just the way he explains it is so stupid where he has he's walking with toast.
Yeah.
And he put jam on it and it slides off the plate and it hits the floor and he's like, when the toast hits the floor with the jam side down, then that means that the devil is present. It's just the stupidest thing.
I don't even remember that part.
Yeah.
I just remember being in theater and that last scene at the end of that movie being it freaked me out a little bit at the very end.
Yeah.
Anyways, that all aside, Bird Box, check it out. Let us know what you guys thought about it.
Here,
And we'll go from there. We'll kind of retouch on that. My initial grade for Bird Box is going to probably be a B-.
Okay. After I have a chance to watch it,
right.
we'll hopefully get a chance to talk about it.
Sure. Okay. So let's get into something. I did see this movie first. And
what movie is that?
This movie is Bumblebee. This is a major release from over the holiday week break, whatever it was.
Yeah.
And let's dive into that a little bit here. The synopsis is: on the run in the year of 1987, Bumblebee finds refuge in a junkyard in a small Californian beach town. Charlie, on the cusp of turning 18 and trying to find her place in the world, discovers Bumblebee. Battle, scarred, and broken. Directed by Travis Knight, written by Christina Hodson, primarily, and then also starring Haley Steinfeld, John Cena, Jorge Ledenberg, John Cena, Jason Drucker, Pamela Adlon, Glenn Turman. This movie is, as far as a functional film is concerned, is the best functional film of the Transformers series.
Okay.
That's not saying a lot.
Even more so than the first, which I thought was reasonable.
I like the first one, and it's fun enough and dumb enough.
Right.
To have fun with.
It's a cheesy popcorn flick.
I hated all the other Transformers. Maybe the third one I was a little bit okay, but still I was no.
Yeah.
But I'm not really a Transformers franchise fan. This one does better at bringing it back to maybe more of what the first one as a functional film. It's not as cheesy. There's not as many dumb jokes as the first Transformers film, but it is a prequel also, and it does suffer from being a prequel. And however, whenever there's a prequel, there's an element of you lose all sense of urgency.
Right. It's predictable in a sense.
It's predictable because you know who's going to make it out alive.
Yeah.
And so I was never once scared that any of my main people were going to die.
Right. Yeah.
So I that took a lot from the film, unfortunately. But it was brilliantly acted. Haley Steinfeld carries the movie. It's her and Bumblebee. Really, that's it. John Cena was okay. 50% of the time he was super cheesy. 50% of the time he had some good actual lines.
Yeah.
And for the most part, I thought it was okay. I wasn't overwhelmed with it. It was enjoyable, but it wasn't great. There was something that definitely was missing from it. The opening sequence was pretty cool. It was kind of like what's the name of their planet? Cybertron?
Yeah.
So it was like Cybertron and kind of the whole like war that kind of came from that and all that.
Which they've tiptoed in a little bit with some of the movies.
Right.
But not really gotten into much.
So that was cool to see.
Yeah.
And then even the fights, like the fights were, different from Michael Bay. I really like Michael Bay has an eye for action. It's great, but they do the fights. It's not as big and bombastic as like what Michael Bay would do, but it is more discernible, meaning that you can actually see what's happening very clearly.
It's good.
There are a lot of like wide shots and stuff like that, which is helpful. It's not as stylized, so there are a couple of cool elements. You're like, okay. It's just very straightforward, actiony.
Yeah.
But it's also very E.T. And so they have this like relationship. And like
Bumblebee like Skittles?
Sure. I don't know.
E.T. The movie?
Yeah, kind of like E.T. Kind of like, it's the alien.
He likes Skittles.
Boy.
Oh, no, Reese's
it's
Pieces.
Yeah,
sorry, folks.
And then the government's after him and all that stuff.
Gotcha. Okay.
But it was enjoyable. I can't fault it for that. It just was a little bland at times. But I think Haley Steinfeld's really the strength in this movie. It's really her story. She goes through some tragedy and she does a great job bringing that to the screen and bringing that to her kind of everyday plight. And I don't know. I don't feel like I would want to go watch this a bunch of times. It's not like super entertaining. It's a good story.
Yeah. Is it more of a action, more of a drama, more kind of a... What
it's like halvesies.
Okay.
Not even halvesies. I'd say it's more drama than the action side of it. They spend a little too much time with some of the family members and try to make it funnier than it is at times, but it's not bad humor like Michael Bay humor.
Yeah.
Michael Bay has a terrible sense of humor.
Mm-hmm. Do you think they set it up for more of a sequel?
They could if they wanted to.
Yeah.
But they don't have to if they want to just jump in to hold the whole Sam Witwicky thing. It would fit pretty seamlessly.
Okay.
Other than that, it was okay. Not great. It was enjoyable to an extent. Not a lot of memorable moments for me. So if I had to rate this thing, I'd probably give it an 81.
Okay.
So B- still. So it's not bad.
For a Transformers movie?
Yeah.
Not bad at all.
It might be the highest rated Transformers movie. Like I said, it's for a movie, it was put together really well.
Okay.
Yeah. And it's probably the most emotionally deep movie in the Transformers series, which isn't saying a lot.
No.
But it is.
Really? Sam Witwicky goes to Transformers heaven? I mean, that's pretty deep, you know?
Right.
They delve into immortality and,
so
death and life.
It was good. It was good. And check it out. I'd be curious to kind of hear what it is. It's getting great reviews on Rotten Tomatoes, or at least the critic score is the best for any Transformers movie as well. But yeah, so 81, B-. Joel.
Yes.
I want to get into the next movie.
Okay.
And we both got a chance to see this one, and it was Aquaman.
Yes.
Or Fish Boy.
Fish Boy.
One of those. Yes.
Fish Boy, yo.
Yeah.
Great, solid Fish Boy.
Do you want me to break it down? And then you can.
You want to? Go ahead.
Yeah, no, you do it.
I'll do it.
Yeah,
right.
you do it.
Sounds
Go
good.
For it.
This film, directed by James Wan, Arthur Curry learns that he is the heir to the underwater kingdom of Atlantis and must step forward to lead his people and be a hero to the world. I don't know why I'm doing the voices.
Okay.
We haven't done this in a while.
Yeah.
We've been off for a little bit for Christmas and New Year's. So yeah, just stretching the vocal cords out a little bit. It stars Jason Momoa as Aquaman, Amber Heard as Mira, Nicole Kidman as Atlanta. William Dafoe as Volko, Patrick Wilson as the Ocean Master, Dolph Lundgren as Nereus, Tom Curry is Tamura Morrison, Black Manta is Yahya Abdul Mateen, and Captain Merc is Ludi Lin.
Huh.
There's a fair amount of other people that are in there. I don't know. I kind of went into this movie with pretty low expectations.
Me too.
I think by this point, it's pretty much a well-recognized thing that DC has, at best, a checkered history with their films and has made a lot of really bad decisions at other times with some of their films. And I think if you just look into some of the productions and the production structures and the way that these films have come about, you can tell that the producers don't necessarily know exactly what it is that they're doing at times with these films. And so, but I know James Wan, I think he's a competent director and kind of enjoyed some of his films in the past. And so I came out of this one kind of like, I think there was really good elements of storytelling that were definitely there as far as like staple tentpoles type elements of films, but it felt like they were trying to do a little bit too much. It felt a little long to me and draggy at times. We're looking at like a 2.5 hour long film here.
Really?
Yeah. Wow. There was definitely some things that I felt like they were kind of just like trying to make this as epic and big as they could.
Yeah.
Because DC is trying to just have a hit at this point. So
it's a hit for them already.
Yeah.
They're making a ton of money.
some positives, I'll kind of start more there. I felt like Jason Momoa did a great job as Aquaman. There was times where he was a little bit too bro-y, like, bro.
But that's how he was. That's how he was introduced, though, you know?
Yeah, and overall, good.
Yeah.
I mean, there was some bad, but overall, mostly good. The visuals at times lacked for me some specific key scenes.
Oh, I know. One of the first like sequences is really bad.
Yeah, but there was really inventive style. I think the production design itself with Atlantis and the underwater creatures, the armor, the ships, everything looked really interesting and neat and very inventive, especially since... You know, this is probably set. There's a lot of history with Aquaman in the comic and everything, and there's been a couple shows. There was an attempt at a show that fell through, and he's been in part of the cartoon.
Entourage.
Yeah, Entourage. So I don't know. I thought they did good with that. That's kind of all I'll say. What are your thoughts?
I went in with low expectations, like I was saying, but this movie's not like a great movie. It's not like it's not going to win awards, but I did have fun with this movie. Admittedly, I did have a good amount of fun with this movie, and a lot of it had to do with just the bombastic nature of it. I feel like it knew exactly what it wanted to be. It wanted to be over the top, like just like, hey, this is what we are. This is crazy. This is ridiculous, but we're embracing it, and that's what it is.
Yeah.
I will say, some of the fights were freaking awesome. The very first one with Nicole Kidman, awesome,
really good, really good. I think some of the best fights we've seen in DC.
It's like a one take. It's like a one shot of and following like her around a room, like as like she's just kicking things.
When I say that, it sounds like I'm like, oh my, I would still give it like a B grade for the fights.
Yeah.
But most of the fights in the DC universe have been like C minus at best.
Yeah.
So this is like a B
kind
of range fight.
It did really. It's really cool. It has a kind of a unique style to it, and it worked really well. I did really enjoy his relationship with his father.
Oh yeah.
I really like that. And even he says this like one line to this one. I don't want to spoil it, but he says this one line to one guy at the beginning, like, you know, that's your son. What are you doing? Like, you know, why did you do that? Like, he's like got this. You can tell that his relationship with his dad is really coming through in those like little small moments like that, and he's important. You know, they hang out and. Jason Momoa, yes, I fully agree. Awesome. I liked all of the visuals except for the beginning. There was some really terrible de-aging technology. They're just not at where Marvel is.
No, not at all.
This is really bad.
Yeah.
There's a couple times where it's like it looks okay, but then other times you're like, wow, that looks like the baby from the Twilight thing.
Big time, they've gotten better with sort of far shots, like wide type angled shots.
The close-ups.
The close-ups are like, huh?
Yeah.
Like, did you spend time on this?
Right.
Like, were you just like, yeah, good enough? They'll believe it's that
right.
person.
So I feel like some of the earlier MCU stuff where they were doing like Tony Stark and some of the other ones, those were better than this still.
Okay.
But anyways, I felt like that was weak. The overall story, as far as
well, and I would say as well, I really liked Patrick Wilson's character, Ocean Master.
Yeah.
I felt like he was say this term, it's a relatable villain in meaning that I could understand why he was doing what he was doing.
Yeah.
I didn't like. I didn't. I felt like it was a little bit cheesy. The whole like up there and down here type thing that was going on. That felt a little bit old school in mindset. But he was a guy that, with the whole familial thing, that felt very relatable.
Yeah.
As far as, like I'm here. I'm the one that's the actual son. This is my position. And who's this guy that's never been here before coming in out of nowhere?
Yeah.
So that all felt really relatable. I think it kind of lost me close to the end of the film, though.
Yeah.
He kind of went off the deep end. And that was the other thing I would say was a very big negative for me. There was kind of two big things that were big negatives for me in this film, outside of some of the special fighting action, special effects stuff. The story was so obvious.
Yeah.
And very, like, every joke, except for, like, one or two fight scenes. There was a couple times where they kept having, like, things blow in through a window or a door.
Permission to come aboard.
Yeah. But, like, every other thing was, like, completely flat, completely obvious. The commentary of, like, the interactions between people, you knew exactly where it was going to go and why. So it wasn't inventive in that way.
Yeah.
And it felt like they were trying to do, like, oh, well, we got this bad guy, and he's got to go on this grand adventure, and he's got to find this thing and, redeem himself. And there was, like, a funny scene, and this kind of, like, ties into the dialogue elements that I'm talking about.
Okay.
That I kind of, like, pinpointed that really summed it up wisely, or well, not wisely, but Amber Heard's character, Mira, is kind of trying to... She's like... That's the second thing.
Yeah.
Their relationship was awful.
Oh,
there was no chemistry between the two of them.
There wasn't any chemistry. You're right.
But she's like talking to him, and he's Jason Momoa. They're on the boat after they just had this big fight, and they're going to where his mother was killed, and they're having this conversation. He's like, I just don't feel like I'm capable of being a leader. Like I don't feel like my skills and my abilities are what they need to be. I'm more of an independent guy that kind of does his own thing. And she looks at him and goes, "You're just upset about your heritage." Or like she says something that's like completely has nothing to do with what he's saying. She just like takes the conversation in the direction she wants to go. And it was like that with the whole movie. It was like they just needed something to happen there.
Right.
And take it in a specific direction.
That relationship didn't work.
Yeah.
It didn't. The chemistry, there's no chemistry other than there's...
It wasn't just that interaction. It felt like with the whole movie, to me, it was like we just have to have this ongoing series of events that kind of build into something.
Yeah. And so here's the thing with this movie, and this is the type of movie, and I thought this is probably the best one I got in 2018, where I can overlook a lot of little like storytelling issues because it was a dumb, fun movie to me. I had fun with it. Like all the action stuff, like the very opening scene where it's like the submarine and he's just taking out all the dudes. I was like, that's fun. This is fun. It's super cheesy. And he's like, I was like, that's fun. I don't know. I had fun with it.
I would have enjoyed it if they'd kind of cut that whole subplot out. I felt like, you could have given Ocean Master a henchman of his own that was like a really powerful henchman that was kind of had a vendetta against Aquaman. Like maybe they had a battle at the beginning of the movie and he became... there was no reason for me to introduce that whole subplot of
having a hidden city of Atlantis.
Felt like too much.
Lost all plausibility until I saw an octopus playing drums.
I do remember that. I remember thinking that was pretty ridiculously
I was
awesome.
like, wait, what?
I was like, what?
I don't know. Because if you see the movie, you're like, okay, I could understandably, they can communicate, but wait, why?
Well,
what?
like all the other animals in the world are like animals, and they're treated like animals that they've kind of like tamed. But
like horses.
But then you have one octopus that for some reason knows how to play the drums. It's like, what? Where did he come from?
It's so random and weird.
And like the things start falling apart when I really like think about it. Like they tried to make a big deal out about the whole highway into the city of Atlantis and how there's like, border crossing. And I'm like, well, do they have, I'm starting to think, do they have a special crossing for people bringing in like produce?
Right.
Like, is there like a citizen's line and there's like another city's line? Like, how does this whole thing work? And it's like, it just, at times I'm like, it really just felt like they were trying to just throw things out there and just like make something stick. But yeah, I agree with the idea that, like you said, it's kind of a dumb, fun movie.
If you can just have fun, if you haven't seen it yet and you want to see a fun action movie, sure.
Yeah, if you don't
it is a little bit long though. I'd shave another 10-15 minutes off of it at least.
Yeah, to me, if they took out that whole submarine subplot that kind of is started with that submarine thing, like that, they could have had a scene there with him saving submarine people. That would
not
be fine.
Related to stuff that happened later.
Exactly.
Yeah.
That would have been totally fine. So I think for me, change the relationship dynamic between Amber Heard and Jason Momoa. I don't know what they needed to do acting wise, but just fix that. That was awful. fix up tighten the plot, and then change around, make it a little bit more inventive and creative.
You know what's funny is I'm not
ranked it a lot
disagreeing
higher.
with any of what you're saying.
Yeah.
I totally agree with all that stuff. I'm just saying I had a lot of fun watching it.
All right. So what are you gonna?
No, what are you gonna rate it?
I'm gonna rate it a 73.
Okay, I'm gonna go 78. I'm
Okay.
gonna say C plus.
All right. Yeah.
C. Boom.
It's still better than Batman vs Superman or Justice
I'm
League for the most
physically
part.
maddened by Martha. I'm so upset by that. Anyways,
it got a similar rating, I think, as Justice League, but I disliked and liked elements differently between the two movies. For different reasons. So anyway,
yeah. Aquaman, I liked Aquaman better than Justice League. Side note, sorry.
No worries.
Had to clarify. But we have one more movie that we want to talk about, and you got a chance to see this too, right, Joel?
Yes.
Okay, so we're actually talking about this other big movie that Disney released this last week called Mary Poppins Returns.
Yes, we're gonna do a talk about this one, which again we've had this is a huge episode. So.
Yeah, it's a massive episode because we're talking about all kinds of movies. Okay, so here's a synopsis. Decades after her original visit, the magical nanny returns to help the Banks siblings and Michael's children through a difficult time in their lives. Directed by Rob Marshall. Starring, of course, Emily Blunt, Lin-Manuel Miranda, Ben Whishaw, Emily Mortimer, Pixie Davis, Nathaniel Stella, Joel Dawson, Julie Walters, Meryl Streep, Colin Firth, Jeremy Swift, a number of other people in a cameo I don't want to ruin. This movie is simply just, it's classic Disney. It felt so, it's a delightful, just classic Disney movie. I wouldn't say it's amazing because the original Mary Poppins to me doesn't have a lot of like nostalgia. I never watched it like a ton. I maybe saw it one time and that was it. And this movie felt so much more classic Disney than anything I've seen from Disney lately because it's got like it's got the actual dance choreography. It's got the musical numbers. It's got the hand-drawn cartoon element to it,
Yeah.
It felt like it could have taken place, like they could have released this movie 2 years after the original Mary Poppins,
Yeah. I didn't really like it.
Okay.
So
that's fine. That's totally fine.
Sorry, I'm not trying to jump in and just like bash it.
I
think the reason I'm saying that is I think what you're saying is true. The reason I feel like that's the case though is because this almost felt like an exact copy in many ways of the original. It has almost the same.
Well, it's a certain
beat for beat stories and structure and plot line.
It's what was required for Mary Poppins to return. It's the same set of circumstances.
Yeah, it felt unnecessary. Like the movie felt very unnecessary. Felt uninspired because of all that to me.
Sure.
So when I went in to see it, I was thinking like they were going to see a new side of this, a new, moving forward of Mary Poppins and the world that she's in, and the characters having grown up, and it just kind of felt like there was motion forward as far as the timeline goes. And that was probably my favorite part of it, I will say, as a positive. There was a lot of really neat tie-ins with cameos, as well as kind of the story from the original that was kind of just cool.
Yeah, I might have to talk to you afterwards because there are some things that I'm pretty sure that they're hinting at was a tie-in that I wasn't getting on, but I was like, who is that? Is that someone important? I don't know who that is.
There was one specific tie-in that a young lady kind of randomly approaches a couple of characters and asks them where to find a specific building.
Okay.
She was actually the young girl, the daughter, I forget her name right now.
Oh, the actual actress.
Yeah, the actual actress.
Oh,
Jane.
That's cool.
She was Jane in the original film. And so she's in there. She makes a cameo. And then Julie Walters, and if she wasn't in the original, she was in the Bedknobs and Broomsticks film, though. That came out just after that.
Right.
And then you had, can't think of his name, the main guy. Dick Van Dyke.
Yeah.
Making a really cool cameo. And that was neat.
Yeah.
Like, that was actually really neat. And I felt like the last 10 to 15 minutes of the movie, to me, kind of felt inventive. It felt magical and kind of interesting and fun. There was some elements here, though, like with the first film. Sorry, I could go into it. Let me let you talk because I'm going to start kind of being negative.
I thought it was good, guys. It's not great in my opinion. My wife actually saw it; she really liked it. And the first Mary Poppins was a big deal to her growing up, and I could see why. I feel like it did a lot of justice in that sense of just, it's very similar. Kind of like what you were saying, but I think Emily Blunt just did an amazing job. that was it. I thought she did a really, really good job at being that character. And it's funny because I had to go back and do a little bit of research because Mary Poppins I was like, what is she always like super into herself and super like all this stuff and like and kind of like mean but kind of not mean and then like nice like and then that's how the original one was as well. I was like, oh, I didn't remember that. So I thought she kind of took it and went with it just fine. And other than that, Lin-Manuel Miranda, I liked seeing him in a main role in something cinematic and like not just like doing the music for it, you know?
Yeah.
I really liked seeing him. The one thing I will say is there wasn't any like song. You know, like how you're like, oh, I remember that song.
Right.
Like, there's people that are going to
Step
sing
in
it.
Time or Supercalifragilistic.
I don't remember any of the songs.
Me neither.
Other than something about Under the London Skies.
Yeah, I remember the BMX jumping, which I thought was kind of funny.
Right.
But I was like, what? And then and Mary Poppins starts flat landing, like she starts getting on the bike and doing like wheelies and stuff, and I'm like, what?
Oh, I don't remember that.
That was kind of my sense of the big Step in Time type number. When all the lamplighters are, they get on their bikes and they all start ramping off stuff. And
I remember that, but I don't remember her doing stuff like that.
She got on a bike and she just like rides by and she's like, oh, look at me. I'm like doing tricks too, and I was just like, really, Mary Poppins? Like the thing that I always liked about Mary Poppins' character, which I think kind of was missed with this one, is that there was an air of mystery and kind of like you don't know where she came from or why she's really there or how she's accomplishing these different things. And she was always a bit aloof and a bit narcissistic, like you said, but it wasn't like meanly so. It wasn't like she ever put people in positions to be sad or angry on purpose. She was trying to grow them and teach them something that they really needed to learn. And I felt like her role in this film was very unnecessary. And that was kind of sad to me. It was like she was kind of just there to be a vehicle to allow certain things to take place. And like one specific example of that is, they have that big part where they have to, because it was in the original, where they like go into the cartoon land, and so she's in there with them. And then the kids go on this like very scary, like almost deadly type part of the adventure where she's not even there. Yeah. And really served very little purpose other than to just freak the kids out. And it tied into slightly something that happens later in the film. Right. But again, that was unnecessary. Pretty much everything that happens in this film, except for like one minor lesson that the kids kind of learn and gets to their father, would have gone exactly the same direction. I don't think anything really necessarily would have changed if she hadn't been there. And what I love so much about the first one is that Mary Poppins' character was kind of like so intrinsic to the story, but she was just kind of like floating in and out of the story in like magical ways. Whereas this one, she was kind of like the third wheel, and a lot of times she was like, all right, I'm here. She's like standing in the background as people are talking, and there's not really any significant reason for her to like be teaching them or doing anything. There was so much that she accomplished in that first film. Yeah. She was like teaching the kids how to be respectful, but also to be kids and to not be upset about their imaginations, but how to love their father. And then she also taught their father, how to embrace the children and be loving towards them, and pulled them all together. And this one, she kind of taught them a little bit how to deal with loss, and kind of helped to bring them together. But it wasn't like they were really struggling all that much. Yeah. And the whole way that things kind of end might have been a little bit different. Like it might not have gone the same direction, but ultimately at the end of the day, because of what was set up in the first film, which is revealed through Dick Van Dyke's character, everything would have worked out fine. Right. Like they would have been completely set up like nicely for the rest of the film. And so there was like, it basically left me with a sense of like, oh, this is kind of cool. It's like revisiting the characters a little bit and seeing a bit of where their story's going and how things ended for them. Yeah. But it wasn't like, oh my gosh, I really needed this.
Did you get anxiety with the whole balloon thing?
A little bit. Yeah, I was like, stop. That was probably the one part, though, I really laughed the most at, which is Colin Farrell. Was it Colin Farrell?
Firth.
Colin Firth. I could get that wrong. Colin Firth, and he's like, like, that was probably my favorite part of the whole movie, to be honest.
It was pretty good.
Except, yeah. So
I definitely liked this one more than I think you did, but that's okay.
I'm not going to rank it super high.
What do you got for it?
Unnecessary. I'm giving it a 69.
Whoa!
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
I'm giving it 82.
Wow. That's a very divergent one for us.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, guys, that's going to actually be the last one here of the show.
Yeah.
Thanks for hanging with us for a while. I know it's definitely a longer show. Again, with the 2018 wrapping up and us trying to catch up with all the movies that have come out,
Yeah.
we're going to try and get a best and worst list to you, hopefully this next week. We got to do our homework, sir.
We do.
And
We gotta
watch
catch
a
up
ton of movies.
On a few movies, yeah.
Yes.
Horrible, Matt. Just
I know.
horrible. I have to watch movies. Oh,
I know. Terrible. What a
such
chore.
horrible life.
But anyways, thank you so much for tuning in. Again, reach us facebook.com / Real Review Media. Same with Instagram, Twitter at Real Review Media, youtube.com / The Real Review. Email us at realreviewmedia@gmail.com, also realreviewmedia.com to get to our website, connect to all that fun stuff as well. Other than that, thanks for hanging on with us and
Hanging on with us.
hanging
Hanging out.
coming aboard with us.
Yeah.
Anything else, Joel?
No, I'm good.
Nah. Well, hey, it's been real.
It's been real.